Will we see the end of ICE era completely? When you was a teenager, did you ever think you would be a Mercedes CEO someday? Can I really drive this EQS for 700 kilometers?
Actually, I would bet you could drive it even longer.
Where are we right now? This showroom is quite huge and enormous. Can you share about this place?
Of course, this is one of our newest showrooms that we have been able to bring to the Thai market. It's a very new concept, March 2020, and this area specifically is now dedicated also to the introduction of our fully electric vehicles, our battery electric vehicles, or as we call them internally, our EQ vehicles. And the first one that we are showcasing, the vehicle behind me, our EQS, is basically the star of the whole range of fully electric vehicles that we intend to bring to the Thai market.
Why EQS is special?
Well, one part is timing, I would say. First of all, because we see that there is a general change all over the world about the impact of COVID and other topics. And naturally, whatever we do needs to somehow fit into the overall situation, the economic situation,
right,
and other areas as well. And for us, it's just a perfect timing now to be able to bring the EQS into Thailand also on a locally manufactured basis.
How do you expect from EQS launch?
What we expect is basically it's a signal. I think it's a strong symbol that can prove to the outside world how quickly can we adopt. It was not too long ago, maybe a year or 1.5 years ago, when the Thai government made a very, very courageous statement of how quickly they want to turn Thailand into a fully electric market. And we have taken with great pride, I would say, and also with a great expectation now into the dialogue with the government on how we together from the automotive industry, together with the Thai government, can support this development.
Mr. Folger, will we see the end of ICE era completely?
Again, if you speak about Thailand, for instance, I believe the government has clearly committed themselves that by 2035, they would like to go to fully electric. We as a company can support that without the customers missing out on any of our exciting vehicles, because from now on, we have started already that there will be an electric vehicle in each of our product lines. Yeah. So by 2025, there will be only electric vehicles that will come forward from us. Yeah. So with that in mind, I think we are fully also supportive, and we can go in the direction that the government wants to push this topic without losing really any substantial volume or potential in the marketplace. However, and this is always the big topic also from our side that we're discussing at the moment, we need to have naturally a charging network. And just to show you how difficult or challenging that is, if we look at countries, for instance, like Norway, where we have already 70-80% of our vehicles being sold being only electric vehicles, you have to have a certain amount of charging stations, like at least 15 charging stations for 1,000 vehicles in that range. So you can do the math and measure that upwards. We will have to have a lot more. And not just on the highways, that's also a misunderstanding of people, but we need to charge the vehicles where they are parked, for instance, throughout the night. Which is not a problem if you have your private home and your own garage, but if you live in a larger complex, apartment complex, we need to have charging potential, and we need to have the billing process in place, how you basically pay then for the electricity, because I don't think that the homeowners association will happily say, oh, let's pay for all the electric vehicles so they can get their electricity for free. So there needs to be concepts developed that support especially the charging in these condominium type parking lots.
Last question, I swear, for this session. Can I really drive this EQS for 700 kilometers?
Actually, I would bet you could drive it even longer.
Oh, really?
Yes.
If I can drive a car that can run maybe for almost 1,000 kilometers, I don't need a charging station at all.
Well, you do one at home. or wherever you arrive, because it's pointless to arrive with an empty battery and then being stuck there without a charging stations. But I know what you're driving at, and of course that has been at the forefront of our concerns, because there are people who are saying, well, you drive electric vehicles predominantly in cities anyway,
right.
And that's maximum 100 kilometers a day. Why do we have to install such big batteries? But I think at the moment, and especially with the early adopters, the technological early adopters, the people that are savvy about what they buy and they go to great lengths to understand the technology behind it. These people are very, very discerning, and we have received super fantastic feedback on our range concept. Yeah, but it's always relevant if you only look at your internal distances. And I would say, I would consider it enough if in an EQS you could go from Bangkok to, for instance, Chiang Mai on one charge.
Wow.
And that should be possible.
Okay, I'm ready. I really want to jump into a Mercedes car. Would you mind driving me?
No, not at all.
Okay,
Would love to.
Yeah, let's
if you
go.
trust me.
Sure, of course. How do you feel when you're driving? I'm sure that you have a driver not here in Thailand.
Mm-hmm.
Is it your first time driving here in Thailand?
No.
Really? How did you?
I've been driving before in Thailand. No, first of all, we go to test tracks
Right.
together with journalists actually to exchange and enjoy vehicle driving. So this is where I can also go and drive on a more regular basis. But even sometimes personally, I have been using the opportunities to actually drive vehicles myself, because I still believe I'm much more convincing if I can talk to you with my own personal experience instead of just what somebody else has told me.
When you was a teenager, did you ever think you would be a Mercedes CEO someday?
No, certainly not.
What
Certainly
was the dream
not.
at that time?
My father worked for the German railway system, and I always thought it was such a cool job to be there at the train station, directing car wagons all over the world. They would go from one place to another, basically sending goods from one part of the country to the next part of Europe. And I always thought that was extremely cool to do something like that. And then when I grew up, I was looking for opportunities for myself. Early on, at the age of 18, I had my first car, which was a French car, which I'm not going to go into the details there.
Right.
But it installed in me a sense of individual mobility that I cherished very much and that I learned to like. It also installed in me the need for high quality, good vehicles. So most likely that's why I ended up with Mercedes. And I overall enjoyed driving.
Right.
The ability on a weekend to simply get out, not having to book anything, just get in the car and drive wherever I felt I wanted to go to.
When we talk about Mercedes-Benz, I ever heard that people say Mercedes-Benz is an expensive car. If you got to replace the word expensive, what kind of word you want to put it?
Valuable. For me, Mercedes is a valuable car brand, which means we need to make sure that it's worth every cent that you spend. Yeah, each and every baht that you spend on a Mercedes, whether that's service, whether that is the vehicle in itself for the upkeep, so it can keep its value for a longest possible time. This is what I consider value, intrinsic value of a brand. And I think Mercedes has basically shown over the last 130 plus years that we are pretty capable of doing that.
And this is my personal question.
Yep.
I can guess the customer profile when they buy E-Class, A-Class, C-Class, but who buy S-Class? Who is willing to buy an S-Class car?
Well, everybody who has a certain level of income. I mean, what the S-Class very clearly differentiates from other vehicles, it's not only more expensive, yeah, but it offers also something that you will not find in any other car, and that is, for instance, the rear seating comfort. Yeah, the noise, the massively reduced noise level. This is a car that needs to be chauffeur driven to experience to its fullest degree. And that naturally requires a certain level of income and I would say a sophistication where you're willing to put your money where your mouth is, in a sense where you say, listen, if I think I need this for myself, I owe this to myself, I'm working hard every day and I want to reward myself, then this is the perfect car for you.
A reward for life. Oh, thank you very much. Thank you very, very much. Can
Thank
I
you
take
for
a
your questions.
selfie for the
Yes, of
review
course.
on
Yes,
this?
please do that.
Okay. 1 2